Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. I know that I am incredibly excited to hear from our panel today to learn more about Ohio's Benefit Bridge pilot program and how it has helped workers stay on a path of economic stability. My name is Travis Spies, and I am the Applied Research Director at the Women's Fund of the Greater Cincinnati Foundation. And the Women's Fund, along with several other organizations across Ohio, have formed the Economic Mobility Alliance Ohio. We are an alliance of state and local advocacy, research, workforce development, and health and human service organizations and funders committed to ending the system of disincentives to work known as benefits cliffs. Today's webinar is part of our efforts to raise awareness and advocate for positive solutions to mitigate and eliminate benefits cliffs, to reduce disincentives to work, and create a more seamless pathway to economic stability for all Ohioans. Earlier this year, EMAO held its first advocacy day where we highlighted the impact of the Benefits Bridge pilot program. It was truly an exciting day, and we are so thankful for everyone who joined us at the State House or supported us from afar. Throughout the day, we heard a lot of interest and enthusiasm about this pilot program, which led us to today's event. So now I'd like to turn it over to Rebecca Kushner, Director of the Ohio Workforce Coalition and EMAO leadership member, to introduce today's speakers. Rebecca, good afternoon.
Thank you, Travis, and thank you for joining us, everyone. It's great to see such a large crowd. As Travis mentioned, I serve as director of the Ohio Workforce Coalition, and we work on policies and practices facing job seekers, workers, employers, and systems. And we really see benefits cliffs as an important piece of the economic mobility puzzle, along with the quality of jobs and employers across Ohio. If you don't know us, visit our website, and I am very pleased to be able to introduce our speakers and tell you a little bit more about them. First off, and this is not in probably the correct order, but first off is Keith Barnes. Keith Barnes is the director of Beyond the Cliff and has over 15 years of experience working to end poverty, and that was preceded by having firsthand experience. He serves as that senior director, and that is an initiative. Beyond the Cliff is an initiative that helps to achieve public benefit system that promotes economic mobility and family thriving. He has previously led technical assistance and advocacy efforts to improve access and delivery of public benefits across the nation, worked to end family homelessness in the Middle Tennessee area, and started his career as an AmeriCorps Vista and Vista leader. Keith holds a master's in community development and action from Vanderbilt University. And I can say, as someone who has been part of a coalition that Keith is leading, he really is a wealth of information on what's happening across the country, and he will share more about some promising practices. Next up, an Ohioan, Angela Carnahan. She is the Workforce Development Administrator for Licking County Job and Family Services and has been there for nearly 30 years. She spent 12 years as the agency's program specialist, focusing on social programs, which included workforce programming, but as well as procurement, contracting, and monitoring. Angela graduated from Kent State. She and her team have been implementing the Benefit Bridge, I believe, as one of the original counties. And I also do want to recognize that Angela was selected as a fellow in the second cohort of the Coalition's Aspen Institute Local Workforce Leadership Academy. And then finally, Rosemarie Caward is an experienced professional in project management and outreach, currently serving as a senior project specialist at Economic Mobility Pathways, otherwise known as EMPath, since December 2019. With a strong focus on supporting low-income families through mobility mentoring, Rosemarie has held various roles in several organizations, including as an outreach coordinator at Project Bread, where technical assistance advanced access to national child nutrition programs. And her experience includes monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and a learning internship at Catholic Relief Services as a child hunger outreach coordinator role with the Greater Philadelphia Coalition Against Hunger. She holds a Master's of Arts in Sustainable International Development from Brandeis and a Bachelor of Architecture from the University of Oregon. So I am pleased to bring such a diverse and varied experiences to the table. These experts, I think, will have a lot for us to learn. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Keith.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And I will, well, two things. One, very good to be with you all. Ohio has a special place in my heart. What was not included in my bio is the one of those years as Vista was actually working for what is now the Ohio Association of Food Banks. Um, and actually, I have very deep roots, family-wise. My mom's family is from Ohio, so good to be with you all. I'm also going to flag I'm a little under the weather, so I may need to just take some very brief pauses so I'm not just coughing into the microphone. With that disclaimer, though, um, really just wanted to provide a little, sort of national perspective on the issue of the benefits cliff. Honestly, before I say anything else, I really do want to highlight that the benefits bridge pilots. Um, I mean, you all are sort of national leaders in this. It's a really great thing, but we have other very qualified people to talk about that. I just wanted to give you that kudos. What I'm going to do is provide a little more context around the Beyond the Cliff coalition that Rebecca had mentioned, as well as just kind of sharing, okay, so here are some examples from other places in the country. So with that, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. Um, we are a coalition of 13 partners coast to coast that, as Rebecca mentioned, that includes herself with the Ohio Workforce Coalition, as well as Towards Employment out of the sort of Northeast Ohio region. But we, I won't go into all the details of all of our partners. It's on the screen. Happy to follow up if anybody's interested. But, the thing that I would highlight is Martha O'Brien Center is a nonprofit based in Nashville, Tennessee. That's my employer. We identified the benefits cliff issue working hand in hand with families in the Casey Homes community, which is a public housing community. And we're like, okay, we got to figure out how to fix this. We got some funding from the state, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And one of the things that sort of quickly became apparent was there was a missing space for collaboration on the issue of addressing the benefits cliff, of sort of removing what it really is sort of a critical barrier to economic mobility for families that receive public assistance. We recognized there was this hole for collaboration. We were fortunate to receive funding to say, well, let's fill that hole. And so we went out and we found great partners from across the country, and they include government agencies, at the state and county levels, as well as workforce providers and more traditionally social service providers. So all of these different, organizations and different approaches, but the one unifying thing across them is really trying to figure out, how do we, from a practice perspective, tackle the benefits cliff? And so we brought them together not just to be able to learn and share with one another, but ultimately so that we can drive positive policy change based on sort of those best practices that we've learned. Before we go to the next slide, the one thing I will highlight is it is our hope to continue to expand this network. We sort of started out in sort of a beta mode where we had about a year ago where we had sort of this smaller cohort, but it is the hope in the months ahead that we would start to sort of grow that footprint. So just putting that out there for folks in the room just to keep an eye out. But if you want to go to the next slide. So I did want to, before I talked about a few specific interventions, I wanted to kind of just provide at a high level, what are some of the things that, over the last year as we brought together all of our practitioner partners, like what is sort of that recipe for success for tackling the benefits cliff? And this is a work in progress. We continue to build evidence, but feel pretty good that these are some of those key things. And again, looking at the benefits bridge in Ohio, I think folks will pretty easily go, oh yeah, look at all these boxes we've already checked, right? So I think it should sound familiar for folks who aren't familiar with that. Um, or who are familiar. If you're not familiar, just know you can kind of follow along in your head, and you'll see these boxes get checked. And really for us, it starts with that person-centered design. Like whatever intervention you're going to do, it needs to be responsive to what families and individuals navigating these systems actually need. You need that rigorous evaluation. You need transitional assistance. So part of the challenge with this cliff thing, without getting way in the weeds, is the way I look at it is it's really about making ends meet, right? And for too many families, you lose assistance way before you're actually making ends meet with your wages. And so there needs to be some sort of resourcing mechanism um, to fill that gap. Evidence-based coaching. Again, I know we've got speakers later, so I won't go into this deeply here, but just that has been a key piece. Resource coordination, which is really about recognizing, I just talked about sort of that transitional assistance. Well, part of that is just marshaling the resources that already exist in the community, right? So we know that a lot of times there actually are things that are available in the community. You just need to know how to better coordinate and align those around a family or individual. Also, part of this is just what I call demystifying the process. One second. Apologies. Otherwise known as benefits counseling. So helping families understand, okay, rather than increase earnings and then find out what happens, like sit down with them, use their free tools, their paid tools out there that basically help you be able to explain to families what they will experience. So, and then not the last only by order, but really the career opportunities piece. Like, yes, you can solve for the 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 in theory part of the cliff by doing these other things, but there have to be like genuine career opportunities where individuals are able to not just increase their earnings to the point where they're losing assistance, but to that point where they're making ends meet. Okay, so again, that's kind of in a nutshell what we've learned over the last year. So next slide. All right, so I would be kind of remiss. I mentioned this before. So I'm based with Martha Bryan Center. We also, in addition to the Beyond the Cliff initiative, which is national, we lead a regional collaborative around economic mobility, and kind of the flagship initiative under that is our Chance Tennessee pilot. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. And so what that pilot does, it really aligns a lot of those things that I just got done mentioning, right? So, that coaching, resource coordination, career opportunities, and sort of critically for us is we literally asked ourselves, what if we just made the cliff go away? So we're able to offer a transitional benefit using funds that we receive from our State Department of Human Services. I won't go into the weeds on how that works here, but happy to share more anytime. But again, kind of the key feature of our intervention is this sort of transitional assistance. Next slide. And then we also, so you can actually go online and sort of see how that works. It gets really confusing really quick. We branded our sort of benefits counseling tool also Beyond the Cliff. So if you go to beyondthecliff.com, you'll find our calculator. And so if you played with one before, or used one before, I should say, excuse me, you input, kind of the family information, and the blue line is what you would typically see when you're, using like a benefits counseling tool. What ours does though is it also illustrates that transitional benefit for families. So when we have that conversation with a family, we can say, yeah, this is what it's going to look like when you increase those earnings. You're going to lose, your SNAP here and your Medicaid here. But we can also say, and this is where we're going to fill the gap for you. So next slide. Okay, well, sorry, I forgot that that was the end of that. So that's just a little sort of sampler of what we're doing in Tennessee. Um, I did want to just share one other one briefly. So our this is a partner in our network. So Hennepin County, which is Minneapolis, so kind of upper Midwest, right? So they actually, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago now, started to invest local dollars um, to in essentially a network of partnerships. So they initially funded also 13 community-based partners. Um, and really, the reason I wanted to highlight it is because it shows how local governments can kind of also contribute and lead the way in their own way. So they took these 13 community partners who had each sort of brought a different solution to the Cliff Challenge, and they funded them. And so that included employment and training services. It included a focus on sort of, wealth building, so direct financial support as well as match savings. It included, more sort of traditional, just financial education and planning. So just sort of equipping folks with that financial acumen. And one of their partners actually did more of a community outreach and awareness. So just educating the community on the issue, helping people realize if this is something they've experienced, maybe they didn't have a term for it, maybe they didn't know what to do. Just helping them understand that there was help available. So basically what they did over the course of, I believe, a couple of years is they ran each of these initiatives. These partners sort of worked together, but they were doing their own interventions. And they've taken essentially the best of what works. And one thing I forgot to mention is this was from a workforce perspective. So, as they made these investments, it really was about how do we help families obviously navigate the benefits cliff, but also just move forward economically. And so they just wrapped that up. There's a report that they put out. Well, I don't know if it's public. I don't know if it's widely available, but it's something we could definitely get to y'all. But kind of the Cliff Notes version of what they found was, again, it's that sort of what I call transitional assistance. I think they called it flexible supports. It's really about, just having resources to fill those gaps as families move forward. And so now as they enter their second round, like that is going to be sort of a key feature of all of their interventions is how do we provide this wraparound support in addition to whatever other interventions may be in place. Cool. And then next slide. So that's what I had to share. I will flag I thought I'd also included the link, but I guess I didn't. But there is the QR code, so you can sign up for our newsletter. I can certainly get the link to send with any follow-up materials. But with that, I'll hand it back to Rebecca.
Thank you, Keith. And I can pull the link and drop it in the chat in just a moment. And with that, we'll turn it over to Angela.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on this webinar today. And I'm really excited to talk to you about our Benefits Bridge project in Licking County, Ohio. I am Angela Carnahan. I'm the Workforce Development Assistance Administrator at Licking County Job and Family Services. Back in 1997, I actually started with the agency. I was hired on to implement the Ohio Works First program with welfare reform, where we implemented work requirements for TANF recipients and that 36-month time limit. And I will say that, looking back, one of the biggest accomplishments that we have seen since then is moving individuals off of cash assistance into the working poor category. Or not working poor category, they're all working, but now we're finding that they're moved themselves into a working poor category. And here we are in 2021. The state of Ohio recognized the significance of the benefit cliff and the need to help bridge the gap. Licking County was one of the original 6 pilot counties for the Benefit Bridge program. I want to commend the state of Ohio for giving the pilot counties the ability to lean into their individual strengths and resources to develop programming that best meets the needs of their the community and the resources, as Keith had mentioned before. It's just so important to be able to have a flexible design or ability to design a flexible program to meet the needs of each community. And that is what the state of Ohio allowed us to do. We can go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Licking County Benefit Bridge pilot. Well, actually, not really a pilot anymore, but our Benefit Bridge program. We are one of 12 counties in Ohio that have an active Benefit Bridge program. Currently, we have 474 enrollees across the state of Ohio, and you see here all of the counties that are participating in our programs, the Benefit Bridge programs in Ohio. Go to the next screen. In Ohio, our target population is individuals who have a bridge score, benefit bridge score between 44 and 88. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's a tool that we use during the assessment project, the assessment of each participant. Families who have an open SNAP case with employment earnings, families and individuals who have lost SNAP eligibility because of earned income, families who have experienced a reduction in publicly funded childcare, and they also have to have an income at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. And the last piece is probably one of the most important pieces for us is the desire and ability to be independent and free from public benefits. Not everybody that we have found through our recruitment process, not everybody is willing and wanting to be free from public benefits. I think there's just such a fear of being without them. So we really try to focus on families who are willing and have the desire to be free from public benefits. And one thing that we emphasize is that the Benefit Bridge program is not an entitlement program. And individuals with significant barriers may be referred to other workforce programs prior to being considered for Benefit Bridge. And one of the pieces and one of the great things in Licking County is our workforce development programs. We're a combined agency with public assistance. So our Ohio Means Job Center and our public assistance division is all under the umbrella of Job and Family Services. So it gives us some flexibility. So if an individual is not quite ready for the Benefit Bridge project, our program, we're able to serve them through other workforce programs that we have available through the JFS or public assistance workforce portion, or the Ohio Means Job Center. We'll go to the next screen. So this is the bridge score, the wellness score that we use as part of the assessment process when during enrollment of individuals in the Benefit Bridge program. So we're really trying to get a holistic view of where the individual is with each of these core pillars, which is family stability, well-being, financial literacy and management, education and training, and employment and career. These pillars are so important and they're so unique to every individual. So it helps us identify the strengths of the individual, and also helps us identify maybe some of their weakness. And we use this score to set a baseline of where they were at enrollment, and then we look at their achievements across the 18-month program on how they end before it exits. So our goal is to have an increased bridge score throughout the 18-month program. I will tell you that this bridge score is something that has been really impactful for us through the Benefit Bridge pilot and Benefit Bridge program as we continue to implement it. That we have also started using this wellness score across all of our other workforce programs, because it gives us an ability to actually track progress as we move individuals to self-sufficiency. There's so many steps involved, and oftentimes the work that we are doing with families and individuals, we can't account for it, because usually most of our programs, the end result is employment, or a certificate of school. And so all of those other things that happen to get that person to be successfully employed, or to get that person to successfully complete training, we're not able to track. There's so much involved with each individual families. And this is one way that we're able to do that. Go to the next slide. Okay. Our Benefit Bridge team is comprised of success coaches, and we have 2 coaches, 2 full-time coaches in Licking County. We also have a career coach who focuses more on employment. We have a benefits coach who helps individuals look at their benefits and understand what would happen, or what is going to happen if they obtain or increase their income, or what's going to happen to their benefit. And probably our biggest partners in this is the financial coaching partnerships that we have established through 3 financial institutions in our community. So First Federal, True Core Credit Union, and Heartland Bank. They actually volunteer coaches, financial coaches, for our participants, and they provide one-on-one financial advising for individuals to help them understand credit score, to help them understand their budget, to help them better understand how to budget their money, and how to increase their savings, and how to pay down their debt, and what their credit score means, and what that does to them. And it's something that we really value. Those coaches that are provided to us free of charge. And it's such a great partnership, and our participants really develop great friendships and partnerships with those financial institutions. We'll go to the next slide. So in our program, what we like to do, or what we do, is after we assess the individual, we do the bridge score to kind of get an idea of where they are. We ask all of our participants to participate in GCF Learn Free, which is basic financial literacy. It's an online financial literacy program. And so once they complete the basics of financial literacy, they're required to provide a budget to their coaches every month. And those coaches review the budget every month. They talk a little bit about their spending habits, maybe give them suggestions on how they can do better or reduce some of their expenses, talk about the importance of savings. So that financial literacy is a big piece of what we'll do, and you'll see why here moving forward. What the other piece is advancement planning. Again, for self-sufficiency, it's understanding your expenses and increasing your income, right? And so how do you increase your income? So, we have conversations about, you're spending too much money and you're not making enough money. So how can we get your income up? How can we increase your income? Does that include education? Do you need some kind of certification to earn a better job or a higher paying job? Or maybe you have the education and your job is just not paying enough money, and you have the skills to earn more money, and you need help in being able to do that. We also offer this employment-based advancement employer partnership. So what we try to do right from the bat, right from the beginning, is, since individuals that we're working with are already employed, many of them have been employed at the same employer for quite some time. We go to that employer and we ask them, is there advancement opportunity for this individual? If we invest in training for this individual, is there room for this person to be able to advance? We start with their current employer because they have that relationship established. And we try to get a commitment from that employer to say, yes, this employee is a great employee, and I would love for them to be able to move on to these other positions. Or sometimes they just say, there's no room for advancement here. And so, if that's the case, then we know, and we go, we talk with that participant and say, well, this is where you're at with this employer. And you should be able to earn more money. And so then we use that as a conversation starter with that participant and talking to them about what their next steps might be. We do offer some time limited short-term support to offset the benefit loss, so that top-up funding. Our program in Lincoln County is very goal achievement focused, and we offer incentives for goal achievement, and we'll talk a little bit more here in the next slides. And we also provide access to transitional services for medical insurance and childcare for individuals who have either lose their medical coverage or lose their subsidy for childcare. We also have some short-term transitional services to offset the cost of that. And then we also provide some supportive services, rent, utilities, transportation. If during the program they experience some financial issues that require some support and some other supportive services while they participate. We'll go to the next screen. I want to talk about financial literacy because this was one of the biggest pieces that we were surprised to see during our pilot. We realized once we started working with our participants that even though they were not high wage earners, they carried a significant amount of debt. And not only that, they just didn't realize what that meant and what that debt was and how to even, they were just so overwhelmed with their finances. A lot of them had buy here, pay here car loans. A lot of them had the payday loans. A lot of them had rent to own for washers and dryers and TVs and even furnitures. And so we found that out really quick during our initial pilot project, that financial coaching and budgeting was key to really helping individuals understand what they need to do to move forward. And so we really focused on the GCF Learn Free, that financial basics and money management. And that again is a free online service. And then we really utilize the individual financial counseling with our partners, our financial institutions. Right now, the average debt per participant when they come into our program is $16,300, and that's average. We took the total and divided it by the number of participants. Some individuals have a lot higher than that, other individuals have a lot lower than that. But that's a lot of debt to have, for individuals who are not making a high wage and are living paycheck to paycheck, and then they have this outstanding loan, high interest loans dangling over them as well. We'll go to the next screen. The taper down food support. So this is also to help individuals transition. So as individuals increase their wages, their food stamp allotment is going to decrease, and that is really scary for individuals. And we've had participants say to us, well, if I lose my food, how am I going to buy food? If I lose my SNAP card, how will I buy food? We've had participants who have never used their cash to pay for food. They've always had a food card. And so this is a learning experience for them. And it's very scary because it's something that they've always had. So this is part of the state of Ohio's taper down piece of transitioning off of SNAP benefits. And so the first month after their SNAP ending, we can top off up to 75% of their SNAP benefit. And then through each month up to 4 months. After the 4th month, then we're giving them 25% of that SNAP allotment. And by month 5, they're 100% sustaining the cost of their food purchases independently. Next slide. We talked a little bit, I mentioned about our transitional incentives. Again, our program in Lincoln County is very incentive heavy. So we really incentivize maintaining, retaining employment. So in tier one, if the participant receives, if they are able to maintain their employment or maintain their school enrollment for the first 4 months, they get $300 a month employment transitional incentive for 4 months. Again, the goal is individuals who transition to employment oftentimes lose other benefits, or their rent increases, or they have to pay more for transportation, or they have cost of going to work, whatever those costs are. So our thought behind this is, as long as they're retaining employment, we're going to help them reduce the cost of what it costs for them to go to work, whether it be gas, whether it be a rent increase because of the income, whether it be utility increase because of the loss of a utility allowance. Whatever the difference is, we're really trying to incentivize them to maintain that employment and not just give up and say, I'm just going to go back on public benefits. And again, we have tier two. Once they complete tier one, if they're still retaining employment, they receive $200 deposited into a savings account for 4 months, and a $200 employment incentive. So a total of $400, but $200 of that is actually going into a savings account. The savings piece is going back to the financial literacy. And again, I think probably most of you know, individuals who are living paycheck to paycheck have no emergency fund. And this is how they end up getting into these financial situations, payday loans, buy here, pay here, car payment. They don't have a way to manage crisis financially. So what we're trying to do is increase income, reduce debt, and build savings to really help them manage those crises when they come up. And then tier three, again, they can receive $200 of employment transitional incentive per month, deposited into a savings account for 4 months. And again, our goal here is for them to build that savings and to have a safety net, so they're not just giving up and coming back onto benefits. So a total of our program, an individual can earn up to $3,600 in incentives for 12 months, as long as they are maintaining employment or they're maintaining school enrollment, or both. Sometimes they're employed and also going to school at the same time. We'll go to the next screen. One of the things that Keith had mentioned about the program being flexible, and one of the biggest pieces for us is being able to have individuals create a personal goal achievement, because everybody's situation is so different. And so we added incentives, built incentives in for individual personal achievements. So we may be working with somebody who doesn't have a driver's license. We may be working with somebody who, still working on or wants to get a GED or a diploma. So we have them identify their personal goal achievement up front. And then we help them work towards achieving those goals. And once they achieve those goals, then they can earn incentives on top of that. And again, a lot of this incentives or the personal achievement goals are focused on finances, savings goal, paying off a credit card or loan debt, completion of training is always great, or any other personal goal that is measurable. So we have some people who maybe have fines, or maybe have had some legal issues and have fees and fines that they need to pay. Everybody's situation is different. And so we have them identify those personal goals that mean a lot to them, that are impacting their ability to become self-sufficient or independent of benefits. We'll go to the next screen. And lastly, what I just wanted to share with you, some of our outcomes that we've seen to date. So since implementation in 2021, we've served 134 individuals in Licking County. We've exited 106. Average wage at entry is $15.29. Average wage at exit is $19.14. So again, it's an 18-month program. So in 18 months, we're seeing a 26% increase in wage. I do want to point out that 67% of the participant exits had wage increases anywhere from as little as 18 cents per hour to $15.04 per hour. So those wage increases varied significantly. One big piece is that the total savings increased. At entry, the total amount of savings of again, this is combined participants, 14,000. At exit, 86,510. So a 600% increase in total savings when the participant, and again, that's for a total of all of the participants, not each individual. And then our bridge score increase, at entry, 50 points, at exit, 75. So an average of 25-point increase in 18 months of a bridge score. This debt piece is always just so amazing to me. At entry, the total of 134 participants had amassed over $2 million worth of debt. And by the time that they exit, that debt had been paid down. So 106 participants at exit, the debt total was $713,000. And so that's huge. That's huge. And most of our participants, their personal goals are focused around debt pay down. And so a 68% decrease in total debt of our participants. And again, just imagine when you're living paycheck to paycheck, or your budget is really tight and you have all that debt, that is a big source of insecurity. And the reason why you're not able to get ahead is because of that debt. So that was one big piece that we're really proud about, our participants being able to recognize that and pay down the level of debt. I think the next screen, I think this is our a testimonial that we have from one of our recent participants. I'll just give you a heads up that this individual, she actually came to us, to the Benefit Bridge program, through our SNAP employment and training program. So she was a SNAP recipient, was needing some support. We were able to help her through the SNAP employment training program, and then we transitioned her into Benefit Bridge after that. So we'll go ahead and listen to this video.
I've been at my job since probably like 2016 in the same field for childcare. So when I first had Madden, I was on maternity leave, so I was approved for food assistance for like a month or two. But when they did away with that because I made too much, that's when they called me about the Benefit Bridge. So I currently get childcare. I get discounted childcare, and Madden still has a medical card. I had never heard of the Benefit Bridge before, and then when they sent me the letter for denial of food stamps is when I first heard about it. And she kind of just was vague about it, had me come in, and I was blown away by the amount of help that they were offering. So I jumped on board to be part of it, and it really helped me in the long run. Oh, I really wanted to raise my credit score. That was the main thing I had, and I had a lot of credit debt, all that. I set quite a few goals with them, and I've actually achieved all my goals. I got cheaper car insurance. I paid off every credit card I had, paid off a car loan. I also created a savings account, which thanks to the Benefit Bridge, I have funds in. So I have a backup, a rainy day fund, I guess. Madden and I, we were in here once a month, so everyone knew us. Even myself and he created bonds with you guys in here. We're actually moving into our own place, just the two of us. I got my taxes back and haven't touched them. So that's also a big help. We really kind of just felt like part of the family here, I guess. Actually, technically, I believe graduated the program, and I got a text message from Megan that they had some extra toys, and they donated toys for Madden to have for Christmas for extra. So even after graduating the Benefit Bridge program, they still reach out to help a couple times, actually. I'm super thankful for. I have recommended the program to others. I've talked about it at my job because I work in childcare, like I said. I actually work with an employee who's also graduated the program, who talked to me about it prior to me starting and told me how great it was too. But I always recommend, it's nice to know that there is help out there, even after the denial letter you get, I guess. It definitely showed me how to be more responsible with funds without needing assistance. I'm appreciative.
And that's all I had. I know that's a lot of information.
Thank you. Well, we've got some good questions in the chat that we'll get to after our next speaker. And if you still have questions, please do drop them in the chat so we capture them. Or not the chat, the Q&A, I guess, or the chat. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rosemary.
Hi there, good afternoon, everyone. I am thrilled to be here with this panel and all of you to highlight this critical topic about economic mobility for the whole family. I am Rosemarie Caward. I am the Senior Project Specialist at Economic Mobility Pathways based in Boston, Massachusetts. And in my role, I support organizations in all different sectors who are using mobility mentoring in their programs. And I'm excited that I was actually supporting Ohio Jobs and Family Services to implement and roll out the Benefit Bridge project, and just have been thrilled to watch it be so successful and roll out across so many counties. So what brought me to this work is my passion for seeing families and communities thrive, and working at EMPath brings me a lot of joy and confidence that knowing that mobility mentoring actually does work. And there's a lot of the data and stories and testimonies to back that up. So I'm just thrilled here to have the opportunity to highlight mobility mentoring, and specifically the Economic Mobility Bridge. So with that, just a little bit of background before I get into the bridge. Like I said, I am here representing Economic Mobility Pathways, or EMPath for short. We are a 200-year-old national nonprofit, and our mission at EMPath is to help transform people's lives by helping them move out of poverty and provide other institutions, like you're hearing today, with tools to systematically do the same. So that means that we work locally, and we are one of the largest housing providers here in the Boston area, but we also work nationally and internationally with exchange members, organizations around the world who are using mobility mentoring in their programs to help families find pathways to economic mobility. And so just a little bit of background and context about the Economic Mobility Bridge that was just highlighted. So it is used in our coaching model called mobility mentoring. And mobility mentoring is the professional practice of partnering with participants so that over time they may acquire the resources, skills, and sustained behavior changes necessary to attain and preserve their economic independence. So essentially, mobility mentoring provides a one-to-one partnership between the coach and the participant, and the coaches partner with participants to help them identify and prioritize goals, using the Economic Mobility Bridge that you just saw highlighted from the county as a framework. And just going a little bit more into all of the essential elements that are included in mobility mentoring. So what is continuous and informs how we use the Economic Mobility Bridge, as well as how we approach goal setting, and also how we do recognition with participants. So coaching for economic mobility is a foundation of all of these elements. It builds a professional partnership with the participant and supports them to accomplish their goals. So the strategies of the coaching mindset are designed to create a safe and supportive environment for participants to work through challenges. And as well, the coaching approach provides the scaffolding to intentionally support and help strengthen the executive functioning of participants. And you kind of heard that through Angela's presentation about the skills and the achievements that they are seeing in the participants that they serve. And then, so just a brief introduction to the Economic Mobility Bridge, and I'll get more into that in later slides. But the Economic Mobility Bridge really represents our theory of change, of how individuals can transform their lives and journey towards economic mobility. So it is an assessment as well as a guided conversation. With the bridge, we are able to identify where a participant is and where they would like to go. And through this process of utilizing the bridge and goal setting, the bridge also helps us make the participants make decisions and in context and prioritize to focus on the future, which is executive functioning, those critical skills for economic mobility. And then goal setting provides a roadmap for participants to move forward. So goal setting process helps break down big dreams and ideas to action steps and a tangible plan that participants can work on. And then lastly, recognition completes the whole process that is an ongoing process throughout all services in a program. But recognition, and Angela mentioned the incentives that they offer in the Benefit Bridge project, which is just amazing. But it completes the process in recognizing all the effort that goes into achieving these goals and overcoming barriers and staying persistent and staying focused. And so it kind of, provides new associations to what we might have like negative feelings of all that effort, all that work that goes into achieving goals. So with that, getting into the actual bridge itself. It is holistic, so it looks at all aspects of everyone's life that are important for economic mobility. And the icons that you see on the slide here represent all of the pillars. So very similar to the slide that Angela shared, but their bridge is adapted from ours. So ours has family stability, well-being, financial management, education and training, and employment and careers. And each of these, the whole concept behind the bridge is that each of these pillars are critical for the bridge to stay solid. So if at any point one of these pillars are weak, then the whole bridge is weak and compromised. And get into the bridge itself. So again, it looks slightly different than the one that the previous speaker shared. But again, so this is our theory of change. And so it's a visual tool showing how an individual achieves the transformative journey from poverty to economic self-sufficiency or economic mobility. And one, it is a self-assessment for participants is to gauge where they are now and begin prioritizing and setting goals for where they want to go. But it's also a conversational tool for coaches, for staff to help guide and frame their engagement with participants to support them along their journey. So through the bridge, we learn where our family is now and where they hope to go in the future. And the design of the bridge also helps keep participants focused on the future as well as making decisions in context. So a few really important design elements of this tool is that vertical axis of being focused on the future and the horizontal axis of making decisions in context. And it's all on one page so that you can see how things might be affecting another aspect, another pillar of an individual's life. And then lastly, just want to share briefly about the scoring. So this is our scoring across all of the pillars. And all the pillars we feel are of equal value. So family stability is not less or more important than employment or education. They're all important for everyone's journey towards economic mobility. And the score itself represents the percentage for a participant of achieving economic mobility as measured by the pillars. So typically, a program will do the bridge at intake and then definitely at exit, and then in between that as needed. Some people do it at 6 months, some people do it 18 months. It really varies, but really just as needed as it's good to, check in about the bridge, check in about goals, and see where participants are at. So it helps programs see the impact they're having on participants. It helps coaches see, where the movement is for participants. And it also helps participants see what the impact of their work on achieving goals that they have identified. And just to close, if you are interested in learning more about mobility mentoring and how you can use it in your programs, I have 2 different options here. You can either visit our website, empathways.org/global network, or you can email the exchange at empathways.org. And we have 140 plus organizations around the world of different sizes and different sectors who are using mobility mentoring. And we have also a lot of publications and reports and impact reports online if you would like to learn more about it. And with that, I'll hand it back to our host.
Okay, I think Jason is up to facilitate Q&A.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to our panelists. We have a question for Angela. What is the caseload per worker, and are there benchmarks or data for financial institutions' success rate?
So our goal is to have 40 enrollments at all times. We can go above or below that, just depends on our enrollment piece. And then what was the other part of that question?
Are there benchmarks or data for financial institutions' success rate?
No, we don't. Our financial institutions, they're all volunteers. And so we don't track financial institutions, the time or the services that they're providing for us. We don't put benchmarks in place for the financial institutions.
And when it comes to debt reduction in Licking County, did you include all debts in the total, collection accounts, credit cards, medical bills, etc.?
We included debts that showed up on a credit report.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just looking through here. See, thank you, Rebecca, for answering a couple of those. Okay, were there any other quick questions? Denise, thank you for letting us know that the Benefit Bridge pilot was just added in Seneca County. So that brings it up to 13 counties total. Okay, well, we are at time. We'll look through the questions just to make sure that we didn't miss any, and we can follow up with you if your question wasn't answered. Sarah, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your attendance today, for your questions. We'll have a follow-up out with the recording and the slides. And thank you so much to our panelists. We really appreciate them for sharing their knowledge and expertise. And we'll see you next time at our next webinar. Everyone have a great day.